I think ever since I was a boy, I've been interested in AI because I've wanted to understand what it means to be human and what it means to be have consciousness, and that is it means you have to understand complexity and emergent complexity, and the field of AI it explores all of those aspects of humanity. So Satalia was actually born as an AI company 10 years ago, which was very early, and over the past 10 years we've kept ourselves alive through doing AI consultancy and building AI products, but also realizing that we can apply these technologies to organizing ourselves, and in particular I want to question what it means to have hierarchies in an organization, and how AI can break those barriers and make organizations more efficient and innovative. We are trying to pioneer what it means to be an organisation, and we're really trying to push the barriers of organisational psychology and applying AI to disrupting the workplace. We want to remove the concept of a manager. So what we're seeing in industry is that the organisations that have many layers of management, as they get bigger and bigger, you get more layers of management. Organisations are realising that those layers are inefficient, and they're stripping them out, and they're becoming flatter and flatter. But actually, I don't think that's the right solution. What we're doing in Satalia is we're trying to be completely decentralised and distributed, so that we don't have hierarchies. 5 years ago, it was probably quite difficult to understand who were the connectors and who were the bridges within organisations. But what we're seeing now is organisations, and particularly Satalia, bringing all of our data into one place, our digital footprint that we're creating from email, from Slack, from our GitHub, from Jira, from all of these different tools. And we're bringing them all into one place so we can see how people are connected, and we can start to analyse our organisational network to identify those people. And also, quite interestingly, we can identify people who are the right decision makers. So if we need to hire somebody or procure some software or make a decision about a salary, rather than having a manager decide, we can identify who's the right person, who's actually the right consultation group for that person to talk to make an informed decision. There's a number of principles that we adhere to with respect to building any of our processes, and those principles are radical transparency, complete freedom, and informed decision making. I guess another example of distributed decision making is a few months ago we allowed everybody to make public recommendations of their own salary. So you would make a public declaration of your own salary, and everybody else in the organisation, including some of our partners, would vote on whether that salary was appropriate or not. And my vote for you, so the weight of my vote for your salary, would be a function of two things. One is how closely I've worked with you over the past year, and we can see that from the data. So if I've worked with you very closely, and also how highly regarded I am as a strategic decision maker. That's one way that we're using organisational network analysis and AI to help with decision making.
And if I was working in a big corporation and I suddenly thought that this is a great idea, I love what Daniel's saying, come and help me tomorrow, what would that process look like in a big corporation to start to contemplate, will it work for us?
Organisations want to work with Satalia not just because of our expertise, but also because of our organisational culture. And so we've worked with very big organisations, with small teams within organisations, but our culture has imprinted on theirs, and it started to then percolate through those organisations. What we would do ordinarily is go into an organisation, identify a group or a department, and try and apply our processes to that, and then see if we can move that to other parts of the organisation. It's almost like a Trojan horse. I think that over the coming years, organisations are going to realise that if they want to stay innovative, it's not just going to be about technology, it's not just going to be about AI, but it's about how do we work with talent to architect those systems, to utilise those systems. I've developed this kind of matrix, which on one dimension you have how sexy is your brand or your industry, and the other dimension is how complex or interesting are your problems. And if you're not sexy and you don't have interesting problems, then you're not going to attract talent. And you're going to need to learn how to work with external vendors, with startups, to help drive your innovations. If you're sexy and you've got problems, then you're going to attract talent and they'll stick. Understanding where you are on this matrix and being really honest with yourself is super important, because that will dictate the strategy of engaging with talent to help you drive those innovations. In Satalia, we have an office only because people want to go to the office. They want to come together as a group and work with each other. In this future world of gig workers and kind of porous boundaries between the external world and the internal company, I think that we're still going to have a need for people to come together.